death is very likely the single best invention of life.
The thing I would say is, when you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you.
Steve Jobs' most eye-opening speech can change your life. Steve shared some of the most important life stories of his life. First, connect the dots. Steve was dropped from Reed College after 6 months, but dropped in for 18 months before quitting. Why did he leave? It started before he was born. As a young man, unmarried graduate student, his biological mother decided to adopt him. She insisted on college-educated adoptive parents. He was set to be adopted by a lawyer and his wife, but they chose a girl instead. My waiting list parents got a call in the middle of the night asking whether they wanted a baby boy. They said yes. My biological mother later realized that neither of my parents had a high school diploma or a 4-year college degree. She rejected the adoption paperwork. She gave up when his parents promised he'd attend college. When he ultimately decided to go to college, she chose it out of ignorance, and his working-class parents spent all of their funds on it. 6 months in, he was confused. He spent all his savings on college without knowing what he intended to do with his life. His parents were responsible. He decided to withdraw and trust the cosmos. It was one of his smartest actions. He realized afterwards, with his university dismissal behind him, he could take electives instead of required ones. Without a dorm room, he slept on friends' floors. He went 7 kilometers every Sunday night to the Hare Krishna temple to dine with 5-cent Coke bottle deposits. He liked it. His horrific biography begins here. The second story is about loss and love. He found his passion. Wozniak and Steve started Apple in his parents' garage when he was 20. They worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown to a $2 billion company with 4,000 workers. They created Macintosh. As the company grew, it picked a capable leader. The first year did well in the company, but their future ambition couldn't be realized. When Steve turned 30 years old, he was terminated from the corporation. At that time, he thought he had been ousted from his organization. Steve started Next 5 years later. He then founded Pixar. Toy Story was the first CGI feature film. This animation company is still the greatest. Steve returned to Apple when Apple bought Next. Apple's technology was revitalized. If Steve had not been fired from Apple, he would not have accomplished all this. We also face such circumstances, but we should not worry and execute our work well. Without goals, we can't progress. So anything can happen, but you shouldn't lose hope in life.
I'm not sure I learned this when I was at Apple, but I learned it based on the data when I was at Apple. And that is, I now take a longer-term view on people. In other words, when I see something not being done right, my first reaction isn't to go fix it. It's to say, we're building a team here and we're going to do great stuff for the next decade, not just the next year. And so, what do I need to do to help so that the person that's screwing up learns versus how do I fix the problem? That's painful sometimes, and I still have that first instinct to go fix the problem, but that's taking a longer-term view on people is probably the biggest thing that's changed. And I don't know, that's, maybe the part that's biological.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard. And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough.
The minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live it.
And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish.